Hey everybody. So today I thought that I might take you for a walk, and this is the back north corner of my property. And what we're looking at is a path that I raked in order to get the debris out of the way and to set paths. And we're starting at this place that I think of as my forest living room. Here is a wheelbarrow that I bring along with me. It's got my saw and my loppers that I love. But I have also been finding bones, a lot of deer bone. And I find these fascinating. These are just a few pieces, but I have a collection of probably 20. So here I'm walking back to the corner, and this is the edge of the property. You can see some orange spray paint on that log right there. And I've tried to spray paint the markers that go along the north edge of the property. This is one of them. There's another one. And I have this process for clearing the path that involves lopping off major branches that are in the way, cutting down trees that have started in the middle of the path, choosing the path. There's another one of the markers. And very often the bigger trees, the trees that have a couple years on them, are the ones that dictate the path, the ones that are easiest to remove, sort of dictate where the path is. You can see that there are some branches sticking up on the edges of the path, but a lot of these are not doing well and are easy to snap, and so the loppers aren't always necessary. But for pieces like this, if it's too big for the lopper, then I have to come back with a saw. There's another one of the markers. I try to stay close to the markers as I'm starting to determine where the edge of the property is. I have never seen it. This is me discovering this part of the property. The barbed wire that connects all these uprights sometimes just goes through trees, and sometimes the uprights disappear, but the trees still have the barbed wire going through them. So you can see I'm trying to clear about 3 foot across, sometimes a little wider, and at least 6 foot or 7 foot up. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to open something up, but wherever I see things like the barbed wire here, I try to cut a path to it so that I'm able to maintain it. Here's the upright. There's a lot of autumn olive in this part of the property, and it's really been let to grow. And I'm thinking about interesting ways to use the wood, like maybe making sculptures, because the wood is pretty strong and firm, and it's all over the place. So here we are approaching the edge of the property again, but there's a lot of overgrowth, a lot of stickers. Really, stickers are harder to move than branches, and whenever I run into a large population of the stickers, it's often easier to find a different direction to go as opposed to trying to stay close to the edge. Here's some barbed wire that's been rolled up, and this is why I think I might run out of seeing the barbed wire at some point in the property. But I know where 3 corners of the property, I know where all 4 corners of the property are, but I don't necessarily know everything about the north edge yet. Here's one of the posts, the uprights. And this one I only recently cleared, and that's why it's not painted. I'm going to come back with some fluorescent paint and remark all of the uprights. So as you're walking along, it's easy to keep track of where you are. especially at night. So you might have spied the rake there. I'm looking back at this section because I'm going to weave a wall amongst these trees. You can see that I've started to do it, taking the pieces that I cut down and stuff them back in as though you're making a freeform weave. But back to this rake, you can see the handle on this rake is just a piece of wood that I found on the property and cut, and it was just the right size. It has a little bit of ergonomics to it because of the curve, but my original handle on my rake from Harbor Freight broke, and it's actually broken a couple times. I guess I'm too aggressive with this rake, but I decided instead of paying whatever $20 for a new handle, I just would use the wood on the property. So I really love that rake. It's easily the best tool that I have in this work. You can see in this section I have not gotten to the raking yet. Up until this point, the path was relatively clear because all of the raking had already been done. In other words, I had lopped, I had raked, I had sawn pieces that were too big for the loppers, and generally cleared the branches off to the sides to create a path. So at this point, what you're looking at is just lopped property where, I want to continue to see the uprights. Here's the upright with the barbed wire on it. I guess they were enclosing animals at one point, but the fence just hasn't been maintained, and so it comes in and out. And right on the other edge of the fence is another person's property, and so of course you hear people playing and all that, but I don't ever see anybody. There's a little branch that was sticking out there. I just kicked it off. So I'm always trying to find these uprights, and like I said, I will mark them. But just coming in and out of the woods to try to find these uprights has been a lot of fun, a lot of exploring going on. Some beautiful trees, like this one here. I don't recognize exactly what those fruits are. I don't know if they are, they almost look like walnuts, but I just thought they looked a little like Christmas trees. I'm sure it will become obvious once I look it up. But beautiful big tree on the property. And that's the other thing is, as I find these tall trees, I try to have the path go close to them so that I can always visit with the larger trees on the property. And so all these leaves are coming from a deciduous tree nearby that's not a autumn olive. And so whenever I come across those, I try to bring the path close to it. Yeah, so there's the barbed wire. You can see it's just attached to that tree. It doesn't have an upright. And I'm not sure if I will run into any other uprights. Just like I haven't raked this section yet, I've come to a point where it's relatively hard to pass. And so you can see in a minute or two that I come up to a spot where, without different tools or without thinking about how I want the path to go, there's not an easy direction to go. And looking at all these stickers, you don't want to have to clear that by hand. And all I have is hand tools. Look at this beautiful tree. I believe this is on the neighbor's property. And so as I go further back on the north edge, I'm seeing these points of view where I'm starting to recognize some of the landmarks, mostly trees, I guess. But also the power lines are a good landmark. Tell you where you are on the property. But there's these tall pines. and just massive trees. So here we are back on the path. You can see that a little bit to the edge, there is a lot of clearing space. And so eventually I want to not really create just a path like this, a singular path, but when you come back into this section here, you can see there's just a lot of open space where no autumn olive has taken over. And so I've broken through as best I can by hand, and I'm sort of navigating to this tree here. You can see how tall this tree is. I think I went up to take a look, yeah. So this is an example of, you know, a little clearing around a large tree, or an old tree. And this autumn olive just wants to knock you in the head. So, and where this is up here, it requires a saw. And so usually I'm only carrying one tool with me at a time. And I haven't gone through here yet with a saw to capture all the stuff that I wasn't able to get with the loppers. But as I walk around the path, I'm always trying to determine, you know, what direction does it go in next? Or is this a clearing? Or is this going to be a garden? Or maybe this be a good spot for meditation? Oh, I need to remember that. But there's so many spaces like that that you just sort of re-encounter them and re-encounter them. Sometimes you walk into an area like this and you say, is this the path? Because you haven't raked it out yet. But when I come back with the rake next, I'll be able to have this path be clear just like the earlier part of the video. Not as much crunching. And then eventually I want to come in with a hoe and grub, a grub hoe. And I want to make the path, which is very often at an incline, flat and safe for travel and harder for weeds to come up through. And I want to arrange all the wood that's fallen or that I've cut to the edges of the path, as I did earlier in the video. I think we're returning to the rake here. So you can see just beyond the rake that the path is clear. There's no leaves in the way. You're not stepping on a whole bunch of branches. And it just takes time to get stuff out of the way. At any rate, it was great to spend this time with you. Thank you so much for your attention.